All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Visitors passing by, from Ezekiel's wheel to Atlantis, lost to secrets buried deep. The truth has waited centuries for those who dare to seek. They walk among the stars, ancient voices calling, UFOs and angels rise as the walls keep falling. Mysteries revealed tonight for those who want to know beyond the veil of history. On the X Zone with Rob McConnell. Temples lined with cosmic maps, sacred codes in ancient sand. Hidden truths the world denied now slowly start to stand. From Roswell to the Vatican, to legends carved in gold, every answer leads us deeper into stories never told. The watchers and the messengers, the prophets and the flame. Maybe all the ancient stories were different names, same game. They walk among the stars, ancient voices calling, UFOs and angels rise as the walls keep falling. Mysteries revealed tonight for those who want to know beyond the veil of history. On the X Zone with Rob McConnell. Late at night, the signal travels across the darkened skies, searching for the hidden truths the world still tries to hide. The past and future collide as one, the answers start to show when the seekers gather nightly inside the X Zone. They walk among the stars, the truth is finally breaking. Ancient gods and UFOs and all the great awakenings. The mysteries of all mankind now echo coast to coast here on the X Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, host.
And welcome back to the X Zone. I am that Rob McConnell that Ram was singing about. And this is the X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight. Right here on the CanCom Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM. Right here in St. Catharines on your AM dial at 1220. And they stream us right around the world on classic1220.ca. If you would like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. And if you'd like to get the latest CD or digital download or thumb drive of the newest of Ram's songs that you hear exclusively right here on the X Zone, visit www.rammusic.ca. This hour, Exonation, we venture into the fascinating and often controversial territory where biblical prophecy, extraterrestrial intelligence, UFO phenomenon, and the supernatural converge. This hour, John W. Milor is our guest, and he is an author, researcher, speaker, cybersecurity professional, retired military chief master sergeant, and a longtime student of Christian ufology. John served as Chief of Cyber Operations for the United States Western Air Defense Sector and now works in cybersecurity, helping protect America's crucial infrastructure. He is also a member of the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, and is pursuing certification as a UFO field investigator, and I'll bet you by now he has it. As the author of Christian Ufology, Aliens in the Bible, Aliens and the Antichrist, and the Strong Delusion, John challenges conventional interpretations of the Scripture and asks some extraordinary questions. Could certain biblical accounts describe encounters with ETs or interdimensional beings? Were the Nephilim connected to a forgotten supernatural reality? Could UFO disclosure play a role in biblical prophecy? And might humanity's first openly acknowledged contact become part of a powerful end times deception? His research explores angels, aliens, ghosts, portals, other dimensions, artificial intelligence, psychic phenomena, the Antichrist, Armageddon, and the ancient cosmic struggle between good and evil. His website? johnmilor.com. That's JOHNMILOR.com. And now joining me to examine the possible connections between UFOs, ETs, biblical prophecy, and the supernatural, plus a lot more. Exonation, welcome back to the X Zone. Our good friend John W. Milor. And John, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back on, my old-time buddy.
It's always nice talking to you, my friend. Wow. You were telling me off air that you've got a couple of new books out there.
Yeah. So the first book I wrote, titled Apparition, I'd almost like to push it aside and like pretend it doesn't exist.
Okay, because it's gone.
The writing needs improvement, right? And it's bugged me for a while because over the past 20-something years, as I write, I get better and better. And not too long ago, I picked that up out of curiosity and I started reading it, and I'm like, wow, there's no suspense. It's kind of flat. I think I learned a few things, because I'm reading it and I'm like, I see the ideas here, but like the characters are kind of one-dimensional, no depth. And I'm just critiquing the crap out of it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. So I wanted to rewrite it. And I finally got around to it last year, and as I started writing, it occurred to me that character in that story lines up with who the son would be in this other series that I had going, the Jimmy Prophet series.
Ooh.
And so I'm like, if these two people who had this supernatural thing happen to them that changed their brain chemistry and it gave them abilities and stuff. If these two people had a kid, what would he be like? And the story, Apparition, is about somebody who was a prodigy as a kid. And I thought, I can make a sequel, resurrect like elements of this older story, but make him the kid. of these two people 20 years later. And so I started writing on it, and when I got around 700 pages, I thought, this needs to be 2 books. This is too much. So I split it into 2 books, and so it kind of ended that series, and it tied in yet a 5th book as the characters, I pulled them in from a 5th book, The Dark World Paradox, and rewrote the end of that while I was at it. So it was kind of a lot of work. I created 2 new books out of an old one, kind of resurrecting it and then rewriting, just completely revamped. It's a completely different book.
And when do you expect them to be published?
They already are. I published them just last year.
And where can people buy them?
So on my website, johnmilor.com, has all of my books. Of course, I have other landing pages that go to my author website, christianufology.net, mountainofgathering.com. They all go to my author page, though, johnmilor.com.
John, what originally inspired you and your interest in UFOs, ET life, biblical prophecies, and the supernatural?
So I've always been drawn to things that cannot be easily explained, like a sense that there's more to reality than meets the eye.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always had weird things happen to me, things that you couldn't even put in a clearly defined category in like a paranormal book. And because of these things, well, they're part of my nature, and it runs in my family. My great grandmother's had visions and seen incredible things. My sister, my mom has this supernatural way with animals. Of course, my dad, he used to say, when you're dead, you're 6 feet under. But then one time he told me that he saw the ghost of his grandfather. So I'm like,
so
Dad,
much for that belief, right?
Yeah, obviously, you know. So it depends on what kind of mood he's in. You know, I would find out certain things later on. I'm like, okay, Dad, come on now, you know.
Hey, John, stand by. You and I have to take our first break for this hour. Always great talking to you, my friend. And Exonation, if you'd like to find out more about our guest this hour, visit his website, johnmilor.com. That's JOHNMILOR.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the CanCom Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, streaming us around the world on classic1220.ca.
Visitors passing by, from Ezekiel's wheel to Atlantis lost. I close my eyes and drifted away beyond the shadows of the dying day. No fear, no pain, no tears to cry, just a peaceful silence in the sky. I felt myself rise above it all, heard a distant voice gently call, leave
John Milor is our special guest this hour, Exonation, www.johnmilor.com. John, at what point did you start to suspect that the UFO phenomena and biblical accounts might in fact be connected?
Well, very soon after I got out of the Army, I was like a party maniac and and then also experimenting with all this new agey occult type things, channeling, playing with Ouija boards and things like that. Not stuff that a Christian would be normally doing. Now, if you'd have asked me if I was a believer, I would have said, yeah. But I wouldn't have advertised that I was messing around with all, ghost hunting and,
Sure.
and you name it, But then I had a dream one night that changed me, and it was like an Ebenezer Scrooge on, he's one kind of person, goes to sleep on Christmas Eve and then wakes up the next day a completely different, transformed person. That's not to say that I was a greedy bastard, like him. I wasn't mean or greedy, but I was just like a loose living party animal into all kinds of different things. And about as, I didn't go to church or anything like that, right? But since suddenly I'm like praying every day, I want to read the Bible every day, I want to find a church, what do I got to do for you, God? What do you want me to do? I got to get baptized, I mean, I was a dithering maniac trying to find out, what did God want me to do? Because this vision I had was so profound, it shook me to my core, and I changed dramatically.
What was the vision?
Well, I told the story probably before on your show. I saw Jesus. He came to me in a dream, but he was invisible. So in the dream, me and a friend, my buddy Ramy, who I had like a unique connection with. And I have a story with him too, if I could tell it later.
Sure.
But I was with him in this dream, and we were walking in this really rundown neighborhood, drinking and getting drunk, and we were looking for a place to buy some weed, and we ended up in a compound of some sort, where these really bad guys were standing around with guns and stuff, and we're like, how the hell did we get here? We got to get out of here. And we're looking for a way out. We don't find a way out. This place is fenced in and everything, and there's guards everywhere. And I'm like, we're going to die, man. We're just going to die. Suddenly a Black Hawk helicopter comes down and lands. Door opens, and we hear a voice that says, get in. We're not questioning it. We jump in a helicopter. I'm familiar with Black Hawks. I've been in many of them in the Army. And the door shuts, and we start flying away. And I'm like, oh boy, am I glad to be out of there. But then suddenly, this Black Hawk starts going erratically, and it dive bombs down at the base of this mountain. We think we're going to blow up, and there's a tunnel for a train. And the helicopter goes into this tunnel, and we're screaming because helicopters are not supposed to go into tunnels. We come out the other side of the tunnel, and there's power lines. And I had an experience in the Army where we were in convoy operations in Panama during the conflict, and we had to report to a scene and secure it where a helicopter went down because it got caught up in some power lines, and it chopped the people up when they jumped out to try to escape it, and it was bad. So I had a personal experience with helicopters and power lines. They don't mix. This pilot, whoever he was, went under the power lines and then did a flip upside down and circled back around and went under them again. I guess to prove a point that the power lines were not a problem for him. We were screaming at the top of our lungs through the whole time, right? And then finally the helicopter levels off. This was all like at nighttime when all of this was happening, just like dusky, like just before dawn. And as soon as the helicopter levels off, the sun comes up over the horizon, and this amber light fills the helicopter. and we see below that we're over this golden fields of wheat as far as the eye can see, and all this peace just filled us up. And we're like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And I'm like wondering, who is this crazy helicopter pilot, flying like that? And I lean forward and I look and I see an indentation in the seat, and I see the controls are moving around, but the pilot made himself invisible. I can't see him. And I remember I sat back and I looked at my buddy Ramey. I'm like, the pilot's invisible. And we're both laughing and like, what is this? This is weird. And we both think we're awake. The dream is so vivid, and we can't figure out what in the world is going on. Suddenly the helicopter lands, the door opens up, and I hear a voice say, get out. And we both jump out, and then the voice says to my friend, no, you get back in. So my buddy jumps back in, the door shuts, he flies off. I look around and I see a bunch of dead bodies. I'm right back where I started, the compound, except everybody's dead. Bullet cartridges everywhere, blood, guts, dead bodies. So apparently when he came and picked us up, he took us out of that place just in time because there was a bloodbath. And I'm like still scared. I look around, but the gate is open, and I'm like just sort of timidly walk toward the gate, and I go through it, and I leave that place. And with each step, I feel better and better and more free and lighter. And I'm like, wow, I feel so good. I got to get out of here and stay out of here. And then I wake up. And I sit up in bed, and I'm like, wow, what was that dream? Why do I feel so light? I feel good, really good. I started recalling the dream, and then I came to that part about the pilot being invisible. And I asked myself the question, just rhetorically, who is that invisible pilot? And the name Jesus answered audibly in my ear. And it freaked me out because I'm alone in my bedroom early in the morning. I'm not expecting another person's voice, whether audibly, in my head or what. That name, Jesus, was so crisp and clear, just Jesus. It was external from me. And with his name came this huge dose of love that just dropped on my head and went through my body from head to toe, just saturating me with liquid love. And I fell out of my bed, started crying. I'm like, why did you visit me? I was in the worst place of my life at that time. And he chose that time to come visit me and then announce who he was, and I felt his presence there in my room. And at that point, I was like, what do you want me to do for you, God? And the first thing that popped into my head was, you might try reading the Bible. There's one around here somewhere. Just dust it off and open it up for once. And I did, and I started reading Genesis right away, just start from the beginning like a regular book. And Genesis chapter 6, only a couple pages in, and I'm reading about fallen angels mating with humans and having hybrid children that were demonic monstrosities. And I was shocked because I was a huge fan of the paranormal. I knew a lot about paranormal subjects just across the board because I had been so immersed in that stuff for so long. And I'm reading about, these hybrids, and I'm like, well, angels must be biological species. But then I asked myself these questions that, I'm like, well, wait a second. I know the Bible says somewhere, doesn't it say somewhere that, that angels don't have sex? I thought all angels were male and they're not supposed to have sex, or how they're ghosts or like spirits. They don't have bodies. This is messing with my head. So I started researching it at that point and connecting these dots. And in the beginning, I was like, okay, Bible first, I'm willing to throw anything out, reincarnation, for example. Then I read Hebrews 9:27, man is appointed once to die, and then the judgment. But then I knew of all these personal encounters and experiences that people have had. And And so then I started questioning, well, maybe it's something else. Maybe people are possessed by the spirit of a deceased person, and they think that they were that person, but it's possession rather than reincarnation. In a way, that is reincarnation if you think about it, but it's like cheating death. It's disincarnate, earthbound spirit bopping around and then finds a host and gets in them. And my theory is that human spirits can do that the same as a demon. And people can be possessed by humans and then have mixtures of memories and stuff from a past life, but it's from somebody else. It's not them. So that I just started writing all these notes, and that's where it all started. I mean, wow. I'm seeing things, and of course I have this unusual perspective because I became a Christian because of a dream. Of course I had seeds planted in me from a young age and stuff, but I was primarily immersed in New Agey and paranormal studies for 2 decades, for all my life up to 21 years old. But then I became a born-again believer because I heard Jesus answer his name in my ear. So I'm like, okay, the reality of Jesus is something that I cannot deny, but there's all this other stuff. And then there's so many things that have happened to me in my life and in my family. And of course, my great-grandparents were the seeds of faith that were planted in me as a kid, and they were of the Pentecostal flavor, signs and wonders and stuff.
Right. John, stand by, my friend. Yeah. You and I have to take our break. Fascinating story. Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Yeah.
Let's continue it when we come back. Exonation, my good friend John Milor is our guest this hour. www.johnmilor.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. John and I return on the other side of this break as we continue here on the CanCom Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, streaming us around the world on classic1220.ca.
Just a peaceful silence in the sky. I felt myself rise above it all. Heard a distant voice gently call. Leaving the world I thought I knew. Crossing a doorway shining through. Time stood still, yet eternity moved. Every question I had was... Out beyond the midnight sky, where the silver star trails run, there are lights that move in silence, far beyond the waking sun. Some call them angels descending, some call them ships from the blue. But when they shine through the darkness, they feel like something true. Are they messengers from heaven, or travelers from the stars? Are they watching from the cosmos, knowing who we are? Angels, UFOs, heavenly visitors, lighting up the night with wonder in their eyes. Angels, UFOs, crossing forever between the ancient heavens and tomorrow's skies. Are they wings of light, or fire from above?
John Milor is our guest. And John, what was it like to you when you started putting all the pieces together about the Bible, the Nephilim, the Star of Bethlehem, and then, of course, you've got the miracles, Ezekiel's wheel. What did all this start to mean to you?
Well, at first, in the first part I saw was the Nephilim, and I always had this fear of the Antichrist. Part of that was planted in me by my stepdad. He used to tease the crap out of me. Oh, the Antichrist is coming. You're going to get the mark of the beast. You'll just walk into a store. You won't know it. It'll laser infuse into your skin. You won't be able to The only way you'll be able to get rid of it is pluck out your eye or chop off your hand. Are you going to do that? And just messing with me, So that was always in the back of my head. So when I'm seeing these Nephilim, it occurred to me that, I always had a belief that whatever the Antichrist does when he comes, it's going to be this profound deception, so elaborate that no one could ever guess it. And it would somehow pull the rug out from under religions, multiple religions, all of them, all at once. It would solve the problem of, connecting science and religion, people of all demographics, across the board. And this would be the ticket, some otherworldly beings showing up and then having some kind of religious connection, like fulfilling a prophecy or something. And then there would be archaeological evidence to support him. And he would have supernatural abilities. So I thought, well, maybe, these beings, the Genesis 6 account spawned all of these entities that people once worshipped. They were big-headed egomaniacs. They craved that attention, and they wanted that worship, human worship, and they still do.
It almost sounds like the present-day administration in Washington.
Well, any politician's going to be a bit of an egomaniac. Kind of comes with a job.
True. Do you think that we're in the end days now, John?
I certainly believe we're in the end times. And Jesus said, as the days of Noah were, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. So throughout all of history, he singles out the days of Noah, which is Genesis 6. That's what I was reading about these Nephilim, about otherworldly beings coming down, interfacing with humanity, integrating with our society, and then expediting our degradation to a complete collapse, moral collapse, because that's what happened back then. And you hear about the flood of Noah. Everybody knows about the flood of Noah, but why did God bring the flood? Oh, and you hear people like, oh man, God was such a maniac, wrath on the entire world, killed everybody. But honestly, I believe the flood of Noah was brought to save humanity, because these fallen angels came, integrated with us, and spawned these hybrid monstrosities that were wholly evil. Genesis says that they thought only about evil continually, and he had to wipe them out and start over again. And so that's what that flood Noah narrative is. And Jesus said the end times are going to be like that. And it wasn't just the wickedness, it was this otherworldly presence. And then to add on to that, the same narrative where he says that, he says you'll see signs and wonders in the heavens, and the ground will be shaken, and people will be stricken with fear, and unlike ever before in human history, because of the things that are coming that are of an otherworldly nature. Yeah, and you read more about it in Daniel too, about how the Antichrist, he will magnify himself to the heavens, and he will cast down some of the host of the heaven. The host of the heaven, well, that word heaven is a reference to outer space, the heavens. It's a plural word in the Bible. So we're talking about battles that are, between the inhabitants of earth and otherworldly inhabitants. And there's a mixture. So I think some of them are going to be good guys, and some of them are going to be bad guys.
Have you witnessed any of the words coming to fruition in the Bible when it comes to the end times?
Oh yeah, quite a bit. You see the rise of AI. AI is actually described in Revelation 13. It's a man-made entity that will be put in charge of the global economy and make people take a mark. So that's exactly what a computer would do. Computers are running the global economy already.
Certainly.
The cell phone is the precursor to the mark. It'll be some kind of fantastic technology that you can't live without. Probably transhumanistic in nature, integrating people's consciousness with the internet, and they're already doing experiments with that right now, as fantastical as it sounds. But AI is there, the Euphrates River is drying up, all of the stuff going on around the Middle East. The Middle East has always been a hotbed, and it's all over prophecy. It talks about how the Antichrist will be north of Israel, and there'll be like two Antichrists, actually. And one will be south of Israel, and the other will be north of Israel, and they'll be battling it out between each other, and one will overcome the other. And it's looking like Syria will be the seat of the Antichrist, or the land that occupies what used to be ancient Assyria, which could include Lebanon. But Isaiah refers to him as the Assyrian. So you see all of that. It's in prophecy, all the turmoil going on. And then, of course, the behavior of these terrorists is utterly satanic. And that's why their modus operandi is beheading, just exactly as it says in Revelation. Lots going on there. And it just goes on and on, that the mark of the beast,
Right.
the global economy, the digital currency, the government's getting so powerful that you don't even know, who's in charge anymore.
I agree when you talk about the government getting way too powerful. I'm with you that 100%. But when we look at the technical advancements that are making life easier, that are bringing cures to the sick, who are, these technological advancements are helping feed millions, and the list goes on, John. How can we say that this is something that's bad?
Technology itself is neutral. It's what you do with it. TV, it's what channel you put it on, right? You can use technology to do amazing things, and I'm a techie.
I know. Yeah.
I totally appreciate it. But at the same time, I can't help but think that things were better when kids didn't have cell phones.
Oh, I agree with you 100% there. I agree with you.
That's just an easy example.
Yeah, and it's nice to see certain governments taking steps that are saying, hey, unless you're 18, you can't use it, certain platforms. I think that's the greatest things, and in my opinion, there's no place in any school anywhere where a kid should bring a cell phone into the school. Leave them at home, for God's sake. If you need to call home, there's something called dime or a quarter, a telephone booth, public phone. You don't need it. And I think that when it comes to the use of cell phones by kids, there's an addiction problem. And I don't blame the people at Facebook. I don't blame the Meta people. I blame the parents who are unable to raise their children. Because if the father or the mother said, hey, what are you doing? Let me see. And if the child is doing something that is out of the ordinary, raising a child starts at home. We're too fast to throw everything onto the laps of our school system as well as technology. No, the problem starts at home, and that's my opinion.
Yeah. Certainly helps to try your best to be involved, but
certainly.
Man,
certainly
the cards are stacked against parents these days. That's for sure.
Well, I think parents deserve a good swift kick in the butt. I really do. Parenting, like Laura and I have gone out, I don't know how many times, and I use this fact. We go to a restaurant for supper. We do something called talking. We leave our cell phones in the car. So we talk, we communicate. And there'll be a mom and dad and 4 kids come into the restaurant, sit there. They don't say a word. They're all on their little iPhones.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of sad.
People come into our home. We have a basket by the door. Guess what that's for? You come and visit us, you put your cell phone in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why can't parents take more responsibility for the way their kids are at? Their kids are are growing and how they're becoming so withdrawn from society.
Yeah, they're disconnected
Yeah.
by being connected.
I like that. Hey,
It's
John.
really weird.
Hey, John, stand by. We've got to take our final break for this hour. And Exo Nation, my guest this hour is my good friend John Milor, www.johnmilor.com. We'll be back on the other side as John and I wrap up this hour and this edition of the X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. until midnight right here on the CanCom Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, streaming us at classic1220.ca. And again, a great thank you to all the volunteers, off-duty police officers, firefighters, paramedics, members of first responders across Niagara's, John Q. Public, neighbors, friends, and people who came to help the people in Niagara when we were faced with these massive flooding conditions, over the last 2 weeks. So to each and every one of you, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for coming down, and God bless you all. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
With wonder in their eyes. Angels, UFOs, crossing forever between the ancient heavens and tomorrow's sky. When the world falls silent and the moon begins to rise, we drift into a mystery behind our sleeping eyes, a doorway to forever, a path we cannot see, where hidden thoughts and memories flow endlessly and free. Dreams beyond the night, calling from another side.
And welcome back. John Milor is my special guest. And John, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight, taking time out of your very busy schedule to be with us. It's always great talking to you, my friend.
Yeah, I always like coming on this show.
Question I wanted to ask you, you've written about portals and multiple realms of existence. Do you believe that heaven and hell can actually be dimensions with a genuine physical reality?
I do believe that, and the Bible actually says that. And here's a case in point. The Bible talks about a city, gives its dimensions, 1,500 square miles. So it's really a big city. Describes the city as sort of this like futuristic, difficult to imagine place where the streets are made of this transparent gold. And talks about how the walls around the city have different precious gems. So they're just gigantic bricks made out of gems. So it's probably the most extraordinary looking structure you can ever imagine. Physical city. People that are physical here have been taken there and will be brought back here again. And this city, wherever it's at, will be transported to Earth in the future. So if it's a physical city, it's got a sky, it's got trees, it's got a river going down the middle of it, it's got animals and people, and it's going to be transported to Earth in the future, then it has to be a physical city. And yet, this is New Jerusalem, and it's heaven. It's where God's throne is. And it's associated with a physical direction, north. In 3 different scriptures, it refers to God's throne as being in the sides of the north. So I believe what we're talking about here is we live in a multidimensional reality. The word heaven in the Bible, it is a plural word. So every instance where you see heaven, just imagine it saying the heavens. And replace that with every scripture that you read about heaven, and you'll find some fascinating things. First of all, heaven is defined as outer space, which I call second heaven, in Genesis 1:14. And there's a term, the hosts of heaven, that's used 18 times in the Bible. It means life form in outer space is what it means, because heaven is the heavens, referring to the stars, the abode of the sun and the moon and the stars. The word for angel is synonymous for stars in multiple scriptures, like Job 38. So you can't get too much more on the nose than that. You got these beings that fly in angelic chariots, so they have vehicles that fly. They come from the heavens, which is outer space, with the stars. Christians seem to have a hard time thinking of ETs as, or being extraterrestrial, but they're more like thinking of them as demons. And I'm like, well, there might be some sort of demonic deception coming in the future. I believe there is, but also I think it's part of what's going to make the deception hard to understand and discern is because they're lumping everything into these ways of viewing reality that are not accurate. The entire cosmos, every planet, every star is multidimensional, and they are physical realities. They just vibrate at a different frequency. Just because you can't see them doesn't mean they aren't there. Earth has this whole other civilization on it in the upper atmosphere, where Earth is a larger planet. And it vibrates at a higher frequency, so it's this higher level of glory.
Hold on. Do that one again. That one kind of threw me for a loop.
The Earth, but there's actually three heavens. The Bible mentions the third heaven, so there's an inference that there are three.
Okay.
Because the third heaven is where God's throne is. Second heaven is the most widely used reference in the Bible, and it refers to the heavens, outer space. It's plural. Then there's heaven that's considered the sky. An example of that is Satan is called the prince of the power of the air. And that reference to air is referring to a heaven that is in our sky. And it's not angels sitting on clouds playing harps. It's another world that's just like this, physical, but it's directly above our head. I believe that it's Earth in a much higher dimension that is a much larger Earth. And if you take the dimensions of New Jerusalem, which is going to be moved to Earth in the future, in order to accommodate a city that big, that's 1,500 miles high, the Earth would have to be over 200 times larger. So it's a much larger planet in the first heaven. And there's angelic beings that rule in authority there, and it's a civilization just like this. There's continents. And Deuteronomy 32, the book of Deuteronomy chapter 32 talks about this, how the nations were divided up according to these beings that are in this higher realm. And they got governments, they have skirmishes, they have border clashes. You see a picture of that in the book of Daniel, where Daniel's praying and fasting, and then the archangel Michael visits him, and he talks about how when he came to earth, he was detained by the prince of Persia, a demonic entity, a fallen angel over that particular region he was at the time. And that's because he was coming from another planet, a glorified realm, and going down into the lower dimensions and traveling through space at the same time. And when he reached Earth, he had to penetrate that upper realm to get down here to our middle realm. And Earth is hell is in the heart of the Earth. It's a lower dimension. It's a smaller planet. So Earth is like an onion with these layers of existence all overlapping on top of each other and coexisting. And it sort of fits also with the multidimensional picture that you see with quantum physics, where you got Schrodinger's cat and quantum entanglement and, matter existing in more than one place at the same time and just weird stuff that our science is getting to the point we understand this. We understand that our existence is multidimensional. Well, we're starting to glimpse into the heavens. So when you look in the night sky at night, you're seeing heaven, literally heaven. And in a higher dimension, some of those realms, they're glorified realms, and that's where the angels come from. They're in the heavens.
All right, so could advanced ET technology appear miraculous or supernatural to someone, even in today's society, who does not understand how it operates?
It would be a lot harder in today's society. Word's out about these classified projects like Project Bluebeam that can apparently create anything. So you can't believe your eyes anymore, really. I mean, you could create an image of a person walking along the road from a satellite, and that person could suddenly vanish or have the appearance of anyone, or a vehicle or a ship in the sky or whatever, and it's a laser hologram, three-dimensional creation that can do whatever they want it to do. So there's technologies like that have even leaked out to the public. And then what haven't they leaked? What kind of technologies out there? And I think that there's rogue corporations like Lockheed Martin that have developed technologies, probably from reverse engineered angelic technology, and have gone well beyond what the government even knows about. And they use classified programs and stuff to conceal it. And there's other things, we got the U.S. Patent Office, and every time somebody comes out with figure out free energy, then they take it away and bury it again. So, yeah, we have technology that could totally make it very difficult to figure out what's going on.
But do we have technology that could actually make this a better world?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So my question to you, John, is why then are the good angels or the good ETs just sitting there and letting us go through hell on earth?
Oh, they're not just sitting there.
Well, why aren't they doing something about it?
No. They are actually... So it's an interesting dynamic, and that's the new chapters that I added to that book, The Dark World Paradox. It talks about the higher realm, and the book brings that higher realm into existence because it's all about legalism. It's the legal stuff that's going on in our decisions and respecting our free will. So God respects our free will to an audacious extent. He has given us domain over the earth, as he did with Adam and Eve, and yet they rejected him, and then they ended up handing over a chunk of their authority to the devil in that first temptation in the garden. Since we lost that authority, it was taken away from us. But God has mercy on us, and he immediately came up with a plan. That's why in Genesis 3:15, he talks about the seed of the woman will stomp on the head of the seed of the serpent. He was prophesying about Jesus right then and there, right after the first sin was committed. So we have this whole thing about salvation and everything going on, but the choice has to be ours. We have to choose, and we have to base our choice not on what we know, but what we choose to believe. Because if God just showed up, of course, everybody's going to be like, oh, we have to believe in him because he's God and he'll just wipe us out. But what if there's kind of a question mark hovering there? Like, we don't know. What do you want to believe? I think the question of what people want to believe is more important than what they do believe, because it reflects what's in the heart.
John, as always, a great time talking with you, my good friend. This conversation went way too fast. Love to have you back soon, buddy, to continue it, talk about your books and some other interesting information that I know you'd love to share with us. So let's make that happen, John. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. My very best to you and your family. And Exonation, if you'd like to find out more about our guest this hour, please visit his website, www.johnmilor.com. Well, that's it for tonight, X-Zone Nation. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Yeah, let's try that one again. I'll be back tomorrow night at 10 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And as always, Monday through Friday, right here on the CanCom Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220, CFAJ AM, streaming us at classic1220.ca. So until tomorrow, my friends, always keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light. Good night, everyone.
A path we cannot see, where hidden thoughts and